You want to get into routine, you want to lose weight and you want to lose fat, but you just can't. You have tried everything, but it doesn't work. I'm here to explain why, so that you will be able to understand yourself a bit more, be able to give yourself some grace and finally see some progress. You can't lose weight, you can't stick to a routine, you can't succeed, you never achieve any of the goals that you set out to. If you feel like you've tried everything and nothing's ever worked, then this one's just for you. Well, let's get into it. But first, I want to give you my credentials on this topic because I'm quite experienced. And I do feel like a little bit of an all-seeing eye when it comes to sustainable weight loss. So I myself have been consistent with diet, exercise and routine for over 12 years now. Of course, that's fluctuated and sometimes I've been really on top of my game and sometimes I've been holding on to the bare minimum, but it's never been all or nothing and I've always been consistent. I've lost fat and I've kept it off. I've built muscle and I've built a really sexy figure, if I can say that about myself. Last year I ran a marathon, and every sport that I try, I'm pretty good at. I'm not great, but like I give it that can-do attitude, and that means a lot. And professionally, I'm an online women's health coach, and I have a master's in nutritional sciences and a degree in food science. So in my career, on Instagram, through my job, and through all of my experience, I have spoken to and helped thousands and thousands and thousands of women. So I've seen the trends and I see what works and I see what doesn't work. It's also important to note that I myself have set a couple of fat loss goals that I never succeeded with, and a couple of running targets and a couple of strength targets. I've set myself a couple of goals in my time that I failed. I didn't achieve. So that is worthwhile keeping in mind too. So in summary, I have failed a lot, but I have succeeded much more than the fails that I've had in my career, and so have the women that I've worked with too. So let's get into it. This is a little bit of an overgeneralization, but for the sake of the video, I wanted to categorize the reasons why you might not have succeeded in the past into 6 different areas, the most common areas that I have noticed and seen trends in. So the first reason why you might have tried to lose weight before and not succeeded is because you've been trying things and you've put in effort. Nobody is disputing the hard work and the effort that you put into exercise, food preparation, just general healthy habits, but that effort hasn't seen the results that you were looking for. So yeah, the first common thing that I see is trying things and putting in a lot of effort, but it's not the right area. So for example, if you walked into a coffee shop and somebody in front of you ordered a coffee, you walk up to the barista and the barista asks you, what coffee would you like? And you say, I'll just have what the person in front of us has had. They bring the coffee over at your table and you hate it. You hate it. It's horrible. You didn't like it. Because you've tried something, but it wasn't the right thing. So you might have seen something that others have done online. You might just be gathering, people are going to the gym, they're going on walks. Somebody posted this healthy meal online. If I pop this all together, surely that means weight loss. And unfortunately not. Healthy habits don't mean weight loss. Being in a calorie deficit means weight loss. So that's one area. So not losing weight and not succeeding with it is very rarely for lack of trying. It's very rarely for lack of effort. Like, there is always a substantial amount of effort that's put in, but typically the method that I've noticed that most people tend to take is working hard, not smart, instead of working smart, not hard. So you put all this effort in and it's very draining because it's a lot of effort, good effort, just in the complete wrong area. Number 2 is not focusing on lifestyle, which is ultimately what you need to do, and instead focusing on perfection with no room for flexibility. So when you lose weight, if all of your habits go back to what they were pre-weight loss, you're going to gain the weight back. If you start eating more, if you start exercising less, your body is going to regain the weight. So when you're trying to lose weight, what you need to think of is, what is the lifestyle that I will be able to maintain afterwards? Because you can go from quite a high level of effort and output in your weight loss, and it can drop a little bit. When it comes to weight loss, it's a lot of effort. So that is going to be a lot. But if you drop back from, say, 4 workouts to 3, and from an hour of walking a day to 45 minutes of walking a day, or half an hour of walking a day, that's probably going to pull back from a deficit but you might be able to manage that and you are happy with that to be your new lifestyle. So that is the second thing that I tend to see is a trend, is focusing on perfection and not leaving any room for flexibility and kind of wanting to follow a plan with no errors. It has to be perfect 7 days a week when nobody's life is. The third is pretty simple. We don't need to go into this too much, but that is not knowing what to do. I think that's pretty fair. So kind of trying to get into running, not knowing what to do, trying to lose weight, not knowing what to do, trying to get into the gym and not knowing what to do. So not knowing what to do could be a good reason why you have failed in the past, especially when there is so much information online, and some of the information for beginners is a bit shit and some of the information that is targeted at more experienced people actually ends up being targeted at beginners anyway. So you get confused and you might be overwhelmed by the fact that you aren't able to do some of this stuff that you shouldn't be able to do anyway. So not knowing what to do, very valid. The fourth reason that you might struggle to ever be consistent with weight loss is comparison, and you hold yourself back and you quit before you have even gotten anywhere. I'm going to use an example here of the hot ass girlies who are like Pilates princesses, and they're in the classes, they're in the gym classes, and their arms are snatched. You know when a girl has snatched arms and you're like, it's beautiful, I love you, in your tricep and your bicep, but their back is snatched, their waist is snatched. They're lean, they're gorgeous, they're amazing, they're fantastic, and they're doing gym classes, they're doing Pilates, they're doing spin, whatnot, and you're just like, I want to be you. We've all had those thoughts, and you compare yourself and you're like, well, how come she is doing a couple of classes a week and how come she looks like that? Unfortunately, most of these women are either genetically blessed, small proportion. Secondly, and slightly more common, is that they had an athletic childhood. So they've got 15 years experience on you. So it's a bit dumb, no offense, of you to compare yourself to them anyway, because come back in 15 years of you having experience and then check that physique to their physique, So that's the second one, is actually some people have had very athletic childhoods. So their bodies are they're naturally that way because of experience in the past. So what they do now is just kind of maintaining. And third, and that is most common, is typically they have put in so much work already, They have done the gym, they have done the cut, the bulk, they've done the whole kind of shebang of a physical change. And that's why they look the way they look. So when they eat the way they eat and train the way they train, it shouldn't be what you're doing, because it's not how they got there in the first place. It's a lot easier to maintain your results and maintain your body than it is to get there. So 4 is comparison, because you quit before you've even got into it because you just can't see, you are just comparing yourself to everybody else around you, when the only journey that matters is you focusing on your goal. And I would say for vast majority of women, your dream body is on the other side of 2 years of really, really consistent effort. And that's not to say that it's going to be 2 years of hell. It's 2 years of lifestyle change and a couple of phases where you've got to kind of go hard, you've got to turn the dial, you've got to really go for it. But that is likely going to be enough for you to be looking in the mirror and saying, damn, you are the hottest bitch I've ever seen. The fifth reason, and please don't use this as an excuse, my friend, but is that it might not be the right time. Sometimes I do think it's not the right time, but just let me explain. It's always the right time to do something, okay? You might be going through a job move, a moving country, a breakup, promotion. You might be going through something and your life might be chaotic. There might be an illness in the family. You might not have the time that you want or might need. So for example, if you are going through a job change, you're moving, there's an illness in the family, and you only have truly 4 hours of genuine free time per week for yourself, genuine self-development / relaxation time. It's only 4 hours a week. I'd say let's not use more than 50% on self-development, but that's 2 hours a week that you could do 1 workout and 1 meal prep. And that could be the 2 hours. And it's not the right time. I mean, with 1 workout and 1 meal prep, you're not going to see a lot of change. However, when the promotion has happened, you've kind of done all that extra work, when your family member is healthy again, when you're settled in your new house, you are like, damn, it was busy and I managed to do that. So I'm actually going to go to the gym twice a week now, and then 3 times a week. And then, it's amazing how easy you just pick it all up because you have built the foundation and you've had that flexibility. Whereas if it's always not the right time, you might move into the house and it's like, oh, well, we need to get something done. We need to get the kitchen refurbished, or I've got this holiday coming up. And then it's always finding excuses that it's not the right time, when technically it's always the right time to do something. And it doesn't have to be a huge dedication, it doesn't have to be a huge commitment of time, but just a commitment is going to make your life so much easier, and it's going to help you actually make progress. Like I said, somebody who has the most going on still likely has 30, 60, 90, 120 minutes a week, and that adds up over the course of a month, over the course of a year. Obviously, it's better to put those hours in than to not put those hours in. And then last, I'm so sorry, this one is it's not mean, but it's going to feel mean if this is you, but I'm just going to come out and say it, that you aren't willing to put in the work, and that's probably why you haven't made the progress. I hate being nasty, but I'm just going to come out and say it. It's fucking hard. And if it was easy, everybody would be snatched. Everybody would be. I'm not gonna lie to you. If it was easy, but it's not. And I think that this might resonate with you, that the fantasy is easier. It's less work than the reality. The fantasy is less work than the reality. In your mind, you're like, I'm a gym babe. I go every day of the week, I eat healthy meals, I go on my walks, and in reality, that's so fucking hard. That's so much time. If you go on a daily walk and you go to the gym most days and you eat well, that's a couple of hours every day of dedication. That's not easy, but in your mind, it's easier, because all you need to do is just think, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to go on my walk, I'm going to cook. That was easy. I can imagine that. So I think you might get stuck in the fantasy being easier than the reality. And ultimately, relating back to that last point of just, if you start and you start small, you build up so much confidence, and it's so much easier to take the next step. And as well, like, you will see people online or in person who thrive, who are just absolutely killing it. Like, they are glowing, they are happy. Professionally, they're doing well. Personally, they're doing well. Physically, they're doing well. And you are just like, oh, that's so unfair. And I think most of those people, the work they are putting in is nothing to be like jealous about. Like, the work that they are putting in, it is, they are putting in the graft, and that is their dedication. And I think you just need to realize that to see a drastic change, to complete a marathon, or to lose a shit ton of weight, 10, 20 kilograms, it is hard, and you need to be at peace with that and understand it's not going to be going on healthy walks and eating healthy meals that's going to help you achieve that. It's going to be putting in the work. Now, you might fall into one of those categories or you might not, but regardless, it's hard, and it's a tricky situation. It's a tricky position to be in, to want something for yourself and to struggle, especially multiple times, because it does break your self-belief down, your confidence down, and you do end up thinking like, crap, maybe I'm never going to be able to do this. But so long as you can get your foot in the door and slowly and gently build up confidence, I believe that you can, and I know that you can. I think that online as well, there is so much noise, and when you start your own journey, when you've got a plan that works for you and you've sat down with it and you're ready to kind of give it a go and then review what was working and what wasn't, do more of what is, less of what isn't, and you can tune out all the noise, maybe limit your social media and just focus on yourself, you're going to have a lot more luck, because you could be doing your thing and a friend or an influencer might make a post and they've lost however much weight in a month and you haven't, and so you want to give up. But if you hadn't seen that and you were focusing on your journey and you looked at it and you reviewed and you were like, okay, well, I've not made the progress I expected this month, but when I look at the data, actually I wasn't going on my walks every day, I wasn't counting my calories or whatever it might be on your journey, but just being aware that the noise might not help either. There's a lot of overcomplication in health and fitness and the fitness industry, and there's a lot of like hormone health, gut health, all of these things that just get thrown around, and you're probably wanting too many things at once. I know that at the wellness club, sometimes we have had women come on to a consultation who just want so many things that aren't really, they don't work together. And of course we explain that, and then we work with them, and then we work through each thing at once, you know. So whether it's like, some people will come wanting to improve their relationship with food, but also want to lose weight, and want to not track, but also want to learn to track, and want to focus on variety, but also want a meal plan and meal prep and make their food as easy as possible. And it's, all of these things are amazing and skills that you should have, but are pretty hard to do all at once. So you might have an idea of everything you want to do, and that could hold you back as well, because a lot of the things that you want for yourself, focusing on balance and sustainability and mindset, are good. But if you want to focus on that, it's probably not going to help you lose weight, because to lose weight, we can't really have balance. Sustainability, yes, but like the scales of balance need to be tipped to lose weight, because we need to be expending more energy than we're consuming. So if you find yourself in any of those 6 categories, I'm going to discuss a few areas where you might go wrong and provide you some solutions, so that moving forward, you feel prepared, you feel capable and confident to tackle the issue, because it's going to come up every single time that I go in a deficit personally. I'll tell my little story now. So there's been times where I have wanted to lose weight, and I've said, you know, I want to lose weight, and then I never really go into a plan. I never set a date on it. I never really set why. I never really set what I'm going to do. But I go to the gym a little bit more, or I walk a little bit more, and then I've fallen out of steam. In the past 12 years, this is a few times, I've lost steam, and then I've kind of given up on it. Same with running. Like I've said, you know, I want to run a 10K, and then I'll go out on a few odd runs in the past with no plan. And then it's kind of not came to fruition, because you run out of steam. So these areas that I'm going to bring up, hopefully, if they are probably going to come up in the future, even if you are like really experienced. It's just being able to navigate them and overcome them as they come up. So number 1, and this is my biggest pet peeve in the whole wide world, is undereating, and then ultimately overeating. So a lot of women on Instagram or in coaching will ask for a calorie goal or a calorie can you point me in the direction of a calorie calculator, and focus way too heavily on the number. And I will just ask back, at the moment, do you know what's in your food? Like, do you know that you're having a balanced breakfast that's higher in protein and carbs to energize your morning? That's 20-30 grams of protein, that's got a source of fiber to increase satiety and fullness, 1 or 2 sources of produce. Do you feel satisfied from your breakfast? Most people don't. And then lunch, like, are you eating? Are you skipping it? Are you too busy at work that you're having a cereal bar? And then it gets to dinner time and you eat a share bag of crisps while cooking dinner, and you are very liberal with your cooking in dinner, and you're like, well, you know, how come I'm not losing weight and I only ate breakfast and dinner and I only had a cereal bar for lunch? If your diet quality and your balance and your fueling of yourself and your body on the inside, if that's not all working great, and then you try to eat too little, your body's not going to like that. You're going to be overly hungry. You're going to be confused. You're not going to be fueled. Your concentration at work is going to dip. Your mood is going to dip. And then you're probably going to overeat, and that's why that doesn't tend to work. The SD card ran out of memory, and I can't remember where I was. I've got notes that I'm just going to check. Yes. So if you are significantly reducing your calories all day, thinking, right, if I have a 200 calorie breakfast and a 200 calorie lunch, and then I'll have room for snacks later and dinner, you're probably going to overeat. So a mistake that you might make is eating too little and then overeating, because you haven't focused on your diet quality and how your body feels. Because if your body feels good and your diet quality is good, you're going to have much more easier time eating little calories. You know, you're going a step too advanced and skipping the hard, annoying step of learning how to fuel your body correctly, because it's not sexy and it's not glamorous, and there's no physical results, so it feels like it's a lot of work for not a lot of outcome, but actually it's a lot of work for the best outcome, because if you're confident in fueling yourself, you're going to have such an easy time losing weight, and you're going to be one of those kind of people who can go on an 8-week diet, done, and just look snatched. The second problem that you might come across is relying on motivation instead of systems. And I mentioned this a little bit with my fat loss and my running goals, and I think sometimes you can get a bit swept away, especially online, where you see people doing amazing things and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do that, that's amazing, that's for me, and I'm so motivated. And then obviously you're motivated for a little bit of time until it goes, which it will, because it always does. If your plan only works when you're feeling it, then it's not sustainable. You need to have a system in place. So if you're relying on motivation instead of systems, you need to then figure out what are your systems going to be that are going to help you get that fat loss result and lose weight sustainably. And again, the answer isn't fun and it's not glamorous, but it's about building those baseline sustainable habits. So for example, going on a daily walk and meal prepping or fueling your body, making sure that you eat balanced meals, and going to the gym regularly. If you build those baseline habits, that's your system, and then you're like, bare bone minimum life is like, right, every day I'll go on a walk. It might be 5 minutes, might be 30. 2 or 3 times a week I go to the gym and I eat well. That baseline means that you have systems in place. That is your system, and you can turn the dial up on that system and push yourself into a deficit when you want to kind of commit to that deficit period. But if you don't have systems and you're just like, right, I'm going to do as much as I can in a short time frame as I can, it's not going to work. It hasn't worked and it won't. The third mistake that a lot of people make is focusing too much on workouts and not enough on general activity and daily movement. So I say steps and walk because I don't think you realize, if you aren't a fitness girly, how amazing not walking is, not only for your mental health but for your energy expenditure. But imagine you increase your daily steps by 2,000, and that's an extra 14,000 a week. That adds up, and you don't need to recover from walking. Walking is so easy. I've got a walking pad, and every time I have a meeting, I use my walking pad. And if I want to get my daily activity up, I have a walking pad under my standing desk, and it's just so, it was such a low investment that I've had for years now. And it just means that even when I'm not in a deficit, I'm not in a deficit at the moment, I am pregnant, I am gaining a lot of weight. So it's funny talking about weight loss. But movement is still freaking important, you know, like it's still really good for us. Like if I don't exercise, I'm gonna have a really hard time pushing this baby out. So you can do things in your lifestyle to build up the exercise, and the more movement you do and the more activity you do, the better you're gonna feel, the healthier your body is, and the more food you can eat and lose weight. So personally, I would rather exercise an extra 2,000 steps a day for an extra 200 calories of deficit than eat 200 less calories. I'm not sure about, I would rather eat a chocolate bar and just walk a little bit more each day. But that's each to their own. But like I said, there are so many benefits to daily activity. So even if you are going to the gym or you're going to classes, that might not be and probably won't be enough. The fourth mistake that you might make, which has kind of already been covered a little bit, I guess, in the kind of 6 areas that I spoke about earlier, is having an all or nothing mindset and just really trying to be perfect. And this mindset makes me scratch my head, because like it is just so impossible to be perfect. And in which other area of life are you actually perfect? Like, are you the perfect person all day? Are you like, do you ever make a mistake at work? Like, every time you make a mistake at work, do you lose your job? So, like, if you made a mistake at work, would you just pick your laptop up and throw it out the window and quit? I don't think you would. You'd ask for help, you'd ask for some feedback, you would work on that problem and then be a better, like, you'd be better at your job for it. You, in most circumstances, you look at your mistakes and you learn from them, and you're like, okay, right, I see how that happened. And say for example, you go out for, you notice in your weight loss, and you have an all or nothing mindset because you end up having plans every week. You're a social girl, good for you. I'm happy that you have so many friends and everybody loves you. But this means you're out, you're drinking cocktails once a week, every single week. And then you say, oh, well, fuck it, like I'm off track anyway, so all or nothing, whatever. Instead of learning from that and saying, that's my lifestyle. Like, I am a cocktail girly. I am going to have cocktails once a week. So that's not a fail. That's actually part of my routine. Instead of throwing in the towel about it, or being like, maybe I'll swap from cocktails to vodka. I don't know. I wouldn't personally. I'm an Aperol Spritz girly. So, but again, not at the moment. But yes, so instead of guilt and shame and kind of beating yourself up for having an all or nothing mindset, or for not being perfect, instead having that, here is my failure. How can I reframe this failure? How can I learn from this failure? How can I overcome, or / is it even a failure? Is this just me? So learning from yourself, instead of saying it needs to be perfect because it's so unrealistic to be perfect, taking that approach. And when you have systems and you're not relying on motivation, and when you're relying on a plan, it's a lot easier to be analytic when you're looking at everything instead of being emotional. Because if you don't have a plan and you're just going on a whim and you are weighing yourself when you feel like it and you're just randomly doing things, you're gonna feel horrible about that. Of course you are, because that is just random. You're probably going to be looking at the data when you feel the worst. Whereas if you had a plan and you tracked all of the data, you could look at it with a more objective lens. And this leads me on to my very favourite next thing that you might struggle with a lot, and that might be something that puts you off progress and the reason why you can't ever see long-term sustainable results, and a mistake that I don't want you to make in the future, and that is to just only rely on scales for results or scales for progress, because the scales fluctuate daily and it's not the best way to measure for fat loss. So I did a fat loss phase earlier last year, about a year ago, and in total I lost about 5 kilograms. But when you look at the difference between my physique, it definitely looked like a lot more. Like, I looked like I lost a lot more weight, but I actually lost probably about 8 kilograms of fat and gained about 3 kilograms of muscle, because I was getting stronger and building muscle in that time. So it's not the best measure. Whereas if you measure all of your body, your thighs, your bum, your hips, your waist, everything, you're gonna firstly be able to see the amount that your body has grown or shrunk. Photos show difference in muscle definition, and then weight as well. So if you take all of that data and you are tracking your energy expenditure and you're accurately tracking your energy intake, you can see what's happening. Well, you haven't been in a deficit because you didn't hit all of your exercise goals and you didn't hit your deficit, but you are working out hard in the gym and the scale hasn't changed because you haven't been in a deficit, but you've actually lost a few centimeters. Your body composition has improved. It's important to try and collect a lot of data, not just the scales. And also the scales are like one aspect, but clothes fitting better, you feeling more confident, you getting stronger. Like, the list is endless as to the benefits of improving your lifestyle. And if you are hyper focusing on the scale and not being analytic with it, like I said, not if you are only tracking this one piece of data, that's like, right, if you go to the hospital and you're not very well and the doctor just takes your heartbeat, he gets the stethoscope and he pops it on your chest and he's like, oh, your heart sounds fine. And you're like, no, seriously? I think I'd like some blood tests. I'd like an x-ray. I'd like all of it. No, we're just going to focus on that. And you'd be like, well, that's so fucking dumb, because that's clearly not going to solve the problem. And no offense to you, but that is what you sound like when you are only just randomly hopping on the scales instead of taking into account everything and putting all of your focus onto the number on the scales. I don't want to feel deflated at the end of this video, having just spoke about the type of person you might be, that you have never seen long-term weight loss, or the mistakes that you make, which is why you've not been able to see it. Because I don't want this to be negative. It's actually really good to see where you can improve, because if you didn't realize the area, or you weren't able to, like, what's a polite way of putting this? You kind of knew, but you just never took accountability for it. Like, it's taking accountability for who you are. Like, it's a good thing. It's a positive thing. It's going to move you forward. Myself, with work, my downfall is overwhelm. I get so overwhelmed with absolutely everything that goes into running a business that I'll get a little bit of paralysis, and I don't even know what to do or where to start, because there is always about 100 tasks that I could be doing. And when I realized that that was my problem that I struggled with a few years ago, I was able to develop tools, management tools and systems for me to be better and now I am fantastic. I can fill my days, no overwhelm, because I've always got so much stuff on. I'm just able to prioritize and work better. So I don't find it negative if I have mentioned something here that you're like, yep, that's me, and you are in a place where you're ready to kind of acknowledge that. You are now going to be able to build systems and start seeing progress, which is so exciting. So yes, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I know that it will have helped. And I've also got something very exciting coming very soon that is going to be a helpful step-by-step guide in a really, really nice environment for you to for you to get everything that you're going to need to build sustainable habits and achieve long-term results. Just a little secret that I thought I'd share between friends. So maybe sign up to my email list in the bio so that you can be the first to know. And have a beautiful, gorgeous, amazing week. And thank you so much for watching. If you have any personal questions or whatever that may be, I've got an email address and I've got an Instagram. Send us a voice note, send us a message. I'd be more than happy to help in any way that I can. I'd love to. Bye.